All right, good morning. This is Brenda Meller with Meller Marketing. We are live here on LinkedIn today, and I have a special guest that's going to be joining me here in just a second. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
Now we're both online. So good morning, Jeff. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Namaste. I am doing
Namaste
wonderful.
to you as well.
I assume
Got
it's
your coffee?
I've got my coffee with me. Absolutely.
There
Cheers.
we go. We're going to have some coffee talk here
Yep.
this morning,
And
huh?
you need it on a day like today. I assume in Detroit it's a little overcast as well. So
It is. It's a little bit cooler, but it's almost like we're having like a spring winter. I remember back in the day, Phineas and Ferb, they would call it swinter. It's like a combination. It's not quite cold enough, but warm enough. And
yeah,
it's,
yeah,
I don't know. I guess for us adults, we don't mind it because we don't miss the rain and the slush and the ice, right? But the kids are kind of having a hard time because they've got their sleds and, their ice skates and, everything. Even my daughter, she's bringing her snow pants and boots to school every day, and there's nothing to play in outside right now.
yeah. Well,
So
again, the older I get, the more I look outside, and if it's cloudy, that's fine. As long as it's not snow, I'm a happy camper.
right? It makes it easy. So we're live here today on LinkedIn and Facebook, and what I want to do is just a quick check to see who's joining us online. And I'd like to invite anyone who is online with us this morning, if you could just drop a comment below and say good morning, let us know where you're joining us from, and we'll get things started here in just a minute. And Jeff and I kind of connected through LinkedIn, and Jeff is, I'm going to put this up on screen here, let's see if I can put this on screen here. So that kind of the topic for today. I'm creating a series of interviews here and calling these Social Media Pie. And my very first special VIP guest is Jeff Young. And kind of the topic and what I want to do here today is we're really focusing on inspiring, informing, and educating you. And Jeff, I know you're a huge fan of using acronyms, and I think I know in fact you created the Rockstar acronym for the LinkedIn Rockstar list. And I was trying to think of a really clever acronym for PIE. And I don't know if you can tell, but inspiring has the word P, informing has the word I, and educating has the word E in it. But it wasn't quite the alliteration, the first letter that I was looking for.
Oh,
So I'm going to throw a challenge to you, Jeff, if you can help me.
people informing and educating.
What's that?
People informing and educating.
People. I like it. Informing, and then it's perfect. And I've got pie. So I'm writing that down. Okay, great. So I'm going to pop online here now and see, make sure our live stream is going here. And then here we go. We are online, Jeff, and we've got, according to LinkedIn, so this is always a little bit tricky. I'm using StreamYard for the streaming service, and sometimes I can kind of see who's online and how many people are on with us, and other times it's a little bit difficult. So I'm just going to kind of pop onto my LinkedIn. I see it on my phone that our broadcast is going, and I just want to make sure everything's looking good on the desktop, and then we'll get going here. So we've got about 27 people online with us this morning, and hopefully more of you will be joining us as well. One thing that's really awesome is when you guys leave a comment below, broadcast it out to your network so more people can see that this live interview is happening. And even if you're watching it in playback, the folks will see that later on too. So definitely drop your comments here below. If you know Jeff, you know that Jeff is a LinkedIn guru, and he is a professional networker. He's heavy on volunteering, and he loves getting paid in the 3 C's. And what are those 3 C's again, Jeff?
The 3 C's are, of course, coffee, conversation, okay, and occasionally chocolate.
Chocolate. Do you have a favorite type of chocolate, Jeff? Are you a dark chocolate, white chocolate?
Yes.
Is there any chocolate you don't like?
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's all good. I suppose, a lot of people don't even think white chocolate is chocolate, but it is to me. That's one that I have as a favorite because my better half actually makes a Chex Mix kind of thing where she mixes it all in with white chocolate and Chex Mix and pretzels and those kind of things. And
it's a good kind of savory, sweet
I call
thing.
it Chex Cracks.
Yes, it's kind of like the crack mix kind of thing, right? Awesome. Well, I'm going to take a second here to see who's online with us and say good morning to those folks. Okay. So we've got Robert joining us from Pinckney, Michigan. Uncle Jeff, Guess who that's
Oh
online
my gosh,
with us?
that's Andy.
Andy Foote is
Greetings,
online with
Mr.
us. Good
Foote.
morning, Andy. So nice to see you. Jennifer is joining us from Columbus, Ohio. Jennifer Claffey. Maybe you know Jennifer from your parts?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Jody Campa is a first-timer joining us here from Tucson, Arizona. Hopefully the weather is lovely out there, Jody. Let me know what your temperature is like, because Jeff and I are in the Midwest and we're a little bit cooler right now. Yeah. Sharon is joining us from Philadelphia. We've got Marwa joining us from Egypt. So we've got international coverage, Jeff. Look at that. You're a celebrity overseas now.
Yeah.
We've got John also joining us from overseas, from Malaysia. Andy is joining us from Footistan. So I think he's creating his own geography now, which is clever. We've got Paul from Page, Arizona, and a couple of other folks are joining us online. So I'll pop on a little bit later and see who else is joining. But if you are just joining, let us know in the comments where you're joining us. Just leave a like and then a comment below. All right, Jeff, so it's been a little while since you and I have talked. So tell me, what have you been working on lately? What's going on with you?
Well, I'm still doing the seminars. I've done 2 so far this year.
Okay.
I have about 3 more to do in January so far. I've got 35 scheduled for 2020.
Okay.
So it's going at the proper rate. That's perfect for me.
Okay.
You talked about this being people inspiring and educating. I was inspired by your post the other day, which was very, very good. It was a video about how to get access to the comments of a LinkedIn Live.
Right.
That was excellent, because I do that all the time. I can't do it now because I'm obviously on the LinkedIn Live. But if I'm participating in a LinkedIn Live and not one of the guests or the host, I actually go to a separate tab, bring up the comments, and it's so much easier to use that way.
Yeah, and it's one of these things. A lot of times I create videos or I create tutorials or blog posts or things like that when I'm having a hard time figuring out how to do something, and then I figured out either a workaround for it or a solution to it. And this was one of the issues, I think, similar to you. It's like when you click on the notifications, it'll take you to the live stream to watch the full playback, and you can't fast forward to get all the comments at once. So that was my little workaround on that. And I'll leave that in the playback. I'll leave that link in there later for those of you who might be interested in joining us. So let's go back to the session. So tell us, what are these sessions that you do, and how can people learn more about them? How much do they cost? Tell me a little bit more about them.
Well, as you know, I don't do anything that costs any money. They're all free, and they're all, well, not all, but most of them are open to the public.
Yeah.
I do about 5 different seminars. Title-wise, the seminars are Ask the Expert, and actually that's if you can find one. Because I don't really believe there is such a thing as an expert on LinkedIn. In fact, I joke about the fact that if you can find an expert on LinkedIn, you better give them $1.
Right.
Well, because they change it so often.
Well, I think too, like I can call you an expert because in my mind, you are an expert, but it's kind of like calling yourself that. It's like a little bit of this patting yourself on the back, right?
No, I never do that. And while we're on that topic, I mean, obviously people can see that, you said earlier that I'm supposed to be the LinkedIn guru, right?
Right.
Well, that is my brand on LinkedIn, but I never called myself that to begin with. And it fit me really well, because a friend of mine actually said that to me as a part of one of my seminars. He said, "Jeff, you're a real guru at this." And I went, guru. Yeah, I kind of like the sound of that.
Right.
But when I looked up guru, it says teacher in the dictionary.
Okay.
So perfect. That's what I am. I'm a LinkedIn teacher. So
I love it. It's a nice little acronym. And I struggle with that same kind of expert designation too, because it says who kind of a thing. And what I've always told people is I consider myself a LinkedIn, and I'm going to use air quotes, ambassador, if you will. I like to show people around, kind of show you where things are, and I like to welcome you in. But I think in different circles that can mean different things. And sometimes I have people saying, well, do you work for LinkedIn? No, I don't work for LinkedIn, but definitely I support LinkedIn, and I think you do as well. We support the network. We think it's an amazing place, but we're just independent, and whether we're volunteering our time or working for clients, we're helping people. So tell us about these seminars. Are these in Columbus, and how do people register? Do they just show up? How does that process work?
Free and open to the public. It's just, I advertise them on my LinkedIn profile. So if you go to my profile and scroll down to my first article, it'll have a schedule of the 2020 seminars. and they're open to the public. Anybody can come if it's listed in that list anyway. And I don't charge for them because I'm helping to try to help a couple of different nonprofits here in town. I mean, your focus, for example, I always find it interesting. I think you and I have talked about this before. The co-opetition that exists on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
There we go. That would be me. And if you scroll down just a little ways, you'll see my first article is where it says articles and activity.
This is it right here. So then the schedule of LinkedIn webinars. This is where people can find them.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So you talked about co-opetition. I don't feel anybody is my competition. So
right.
You and I have collaborated several times. I've collaborated with folks in Singapore. I've collaborated with folks in Canada.
Yeah.
But all of my seminars are here, local. What the old teacher term called butts in seats. It basically means that they're in front of an audience. And it's something that I just provide because my focus, your focus, for example, is marketing and for businesses. I mean, you're doing a lot, I'm sure, of clients of yours are other businesses that want to be able to utilize LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, it's a lot of individuals, not all, but many of those individuals are the individuals who are in the job search process, and they want to do the same thing. They want to brand and market themselves. And you do that for those kind of folks as well. But I think your concentration is on businesses. My concentration is on individuals and especially individuals who happen to be in the job search.
Okay, so individuals in career transition. And these sessions that you're offering, Jeff, are these only in the Columbus area? Meaning, I'm kind of doing a little bit of a plug for organizations who might be hearing you online, saying, "Gosh, we want to book Jeff to come out and help our job seekers as well."
Yeah, so I don't, Columbus has an outer belt called Interstate 270, and I don't get outside the outer belt too much. Here, and I don't do webinars. I don't do online kind of stuff. It's just easier and a better focus for me to make sure that I'm doing those seminars here physically in Columbus, Ohio. So, and I do about 6 a year. So it's still, there's still plenty of people who need them out there. And I've been doing it for 12 years now. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you get started? I know a little bit of the backstory, but I'm asking for the purposes of those that are listening in right now, and also for the playback for people who are going to watching this a little bit live later. So how did you get started with the LinkedIn seminars, and how did you kind of get into that path?
Well, it was interesting. I had LinkedIn like everybody else, and really didn't ever do anything with it. From 2004 to like the end of 2007, I had a LinkedIn profile, but just treated it like a resume, put it out there, didn't do anything with it. And what started me down this path is that I actually retired. I actually retired from corporate life. And the interesting thing is, back then, 12 years ago when I retired, I would introduce myself by saying I'm retired, and people would go, "Oh my gosh, you're too young to be retired." Now, of course, when I introduce myself 12 years later, when I introduce myself, "Hi, I'm Jeff Young, I'm retired," they go, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. You look like you're retired."
Right. Anyway, isn't there something in your address field on LinkedIn? And I have it up on screen right now for people. So
you got it. You've got it up there. Exactly. That's how that got started. And that link is something that you don't want to change if you use it so many different places. I ended up starting that way. And it is, the last piece of it is Jeff Young, RALEMOI, which stands for retired and loving every minute of it.
That's right. I remember when I hear it every time, I'm like, oh, it's so clever, and it totally fits you too.
Well, it was easy. If I was doing it right, obviously what that should say today is Jeff Young, the LinkedIn guru. But I've got that other link everywhere, and I wouldn't even hesitate to. I hesitate to go anywhere to change that at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think that's awesome.
When I retired, that for me, retirement wasn't go fishing and play golf and that kind of stuff. Retirement for me was continue to network with other people, and in some of those instances, that would be professional organizations and maybe some nonprofit organizations, those kinds of things.
Okay.
And so when I started that process, I asked my network. I said, I need a tool to help me network. And every single person said, well, if you're going to network with other professionals, it's got to be LinkedIn.
There you go. Yep.
Perfect. And again, that was way back then, right? At the beginning of 2008. So I thought about it as far as the process is concerned, and I said to myself, well, if I'm going to utilize LinkedIn, I'm going to have to get better at it. I'm going to have to know how it works. And then for me, and my background being that I've done this a lot as a part of my career, one way or another, the best way for me to learn how to use LinkedIn was for me to start teaching it to other people.
Right.
And that's how it got started.
Awesome.
I started by going to some of those nonprofit organizations, especially the job search organizations, and teaching a couple of seminars a month, and that grew to like 5 seminars a month, and et cetera. And that's getting better at it, and hopefully getting good enough at it that, like I said, one day somebody comes up to me afterwards and says, "Hey, you know what? You're a real guru at this." So,
right.
That's where it got its start, is me trying to learn how to use LinkedIn, but teaching it to other people.
That's wonderful. So, I'm sure there's a couple of job seekers and those individuals that are in career transition or thinking about making a move this year. Jeff, can you give us maybe a couple of tips that you offer in your sessions?
Well, I think the general perspective is that I find that there are so many people that were in the same boat as I was, because they know LinkedIn is important, but they don't know a lot about LinkedIn, and they don't even know how to approach LinkedIn, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure that you give people these kinds of tidbits all the time, because I've seen your videos, and you process people by giving them at least an approach to LinkedIn. So for me, here's a quick one that talks about the approach to LinkedIn. I think of it in terms of what I would call a 3-legged stool.
Okay.
And the way that I talk about it is I talk about it from a perspective of 3 Ps. And I'm sure. And those 3 Ps are profile, people, and participate.
Okay.
So profile's where your story goes. If your profile's not any good, you won't get the opportunities, because people won't find you. People won't see you. Okay. People, where the networking aspect of this comes in, connecting with people, finding the right people. First of all, the people you already know, and then the people that you need to know, more importantly, especially if you're in a job search. And then thirdly, participate, because that has been, no matter what you do, whether or not you do LinkedIn Lives, whether or not you do seminars, whether you do anything, the participation, the engagement with others in and out of your network is where things really get the traction that you get as far as LinkedIn is concerned. So treat it, from that perspective, and give LinkedIn some time for each of those things on a regular basis.
That's a great suggestion. I love how you kind of focus on all 3, because it's not like a set it and forget it, right? You can't just put your profile out there and then go, okay, waiting for the recruiters to call, or waiting the opportunities to come to me. I think it really is kind of those 3 elements, and I love how you've balanced all 3 of them. And another thing I'm gonna just what's that?
Somebody called when I was doing it earlier from 2004 to 2007. Some people described my profile as a field of dreams. Build it, and they will.
There you go.
Nope.
That's great. You're helping dreams come true, and you're helping people to achieve and reach their dreams, Jeff. And that's I think one of the things that immediately drew me to you was your positivity, and how you're supportive and helpful of others. And what I'd like to do is just kind of pop and see if there's any comments that have come in or any questions that are coming in for you, and we'll welcome a few more people on here as well. So we have Sweta joining us. I believe she's from Canada, if I'm not mistaken. Welcome, Sweta. Sharon Allen, good morning. Thank you and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Sweta must know you, because she says Jeff Guru. So I'm not sure if you're familiar. She's one of our LinkedIn, one of the Meller Marketing LinkedIn rock stars. I put her on the non-trainer list. She focuses is her focus on career consulting. Yeah. Kimberly Harris. Good morning, Kimberly. Thanks for joining us. Kevin Turner says, sorry to be late, but excited to be in attendance. We saw you come in, Kevin. We saw you take your seat in the back. You're fine. Just go ahead and catch up. Welcome, Kevin. Jennifer says, this resonates so well. Thank you for the feedback, Jennifer. Gracie is joining us from Louisiana. Solomon says hello. And Sharon says she's amazed how many folks think that because they have a profile on LinkedIn, the recruiters are going to call. I mean, just what we were talking about here.
Yep.
And, Marwa says that great interview. By any chance, would like to be mentored by Jeff. So maybe if you could respond back to Marwa there might be some additional tips and suggestions. And related to that, Jeff, I know that you have a website where you offer LinkedIn tips. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
That's true. I think you actually said I gave you that, and you'll probably there it is. You've actually
there it is. Where's my hand? Here we go. Below right here.
Yeah. Look, right there it is. Well, and if you're obviously that's a little long for you to actually remember and type in. The easiest thing, really, honestly, is for folks to go to Google and do a search for hashtag the LinkedIn Guru. Because that's one of the links that you'll find. But if you do a Google search for hashtag the LinkedIn Guru, you'll find all kinds of my content. So
awesome. And I think I've got it. Where's my screen over here? I got to go this way. It's up on screen. Is this it right here?
Yes, it's up on the screen. That's the actual web page. Awesome. And I use a tool that actually is a free service where you can just paste links and put that up there. And as you scroll down, there are over 150 or so tips there, because I've been doing that for years, and that's a once a week tip. So wow. They can search that web page for almost anything they want. And I think it's interesting. A part of the success that people should strive for on LinkedIn is the fact that you really want to be found, and in order for you to be found, you have to have a brand. And that's where hashtag the LinkedIn Guru came in for me. Yeah. I do this illustration in telling people in my seminars, for example, about, look, if you were to go out to Google and you were to do a Google search for Jeff Young, if I'm lucky, I'll maybe be on the first page. I might have one listing on the first page. Yeah. Because there's all kinds of Jeff Youngs out there. As a matter of fact, there are like 6 Jeff Youngs in the Columbus phone book alone. And I'm not famous enough to have, my own Wikipedia page, which one of those guys does. And I'm not famous enough to have my own
you could create one, though, and then we could all contribute to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what I discovered was, if I created something like hashtag the LinkedIn Guru and did that kind of search, when you do that search, I get the entire first page of Google results.
That's awesome.
So, we live that's what you should strive for. We live in an SEO kind of world nowadays. And that's the way that you will get found. And that's the way, for me, 2019 was a year that kind of, even though thank you for asking. And I said I focus on doing my seminars locally. Mm-hmm. 2019 was a year that kind of I went global, especially from a connection standpoint and in getting to actually meet some people online that were in totally different countries, and even have people refer people to me from other countries. It was amazing. Wow. You know how powerful this thing is? I had a guy from the United Kingdom introduce me to a lady from Dayton, Ohio, which is about 60 minutes away from Columbus.
Oh, that's crazy. Really?
He introduced me to, and that lady and I have now met twice physically. Okay. Wow. Once in her neck of the woods and once in my neck of the woods. And that has turned into a wonderful, relationship online as well as face-to-face. So
it's crazy too, and you would not have met her had it not been for that UK connection.
Exactly.
Over the pond, so to speak, right?
Yep, exactly.
That's crazy. So, kind of moving along here, Jeff. Another thing I know you for, and I think you do a really good job of creating your professional brand, and you're very consistent with how you roll that brand out. And one of the things I've known about you is your focus on acronyms. And you created an acronym. I'm going to see if I can pull one up here on screen for the LinkedIn rock stars. And it wasn't something I asked you to do. You just, you're very clever. I think you're very clever with words and with spelling things out. And even like, at the beginning of the session, for those joining late, I'm calling this series Social Media Pie, and I was struggling with a word, and Jeff came up with, I'm like, you're brilliant when it comes to those types of things. So I'm going to pull this acronym up on screen here, and then I want you to tell us a little bit of the backstory behind, the LinkedIn rock stars acronym, how you came up with it, and tell us a little bit about what you think the rock star list is all about.
Well, okay, so you started the rock star list, and I got included on it. I don't know, what was the first time for me? Probably back in March of 2019, maybe
something like that. Yep,
or something along those lines. And when you started it, you were always going, you're always saying, here are the FAQs, and most people don't read the FAQs. So I thought, what's some way of putting something in the post that would actually define what I believed you wanted to have as the definition for a LinkedIn rock star. And that's where the real desire to help and the outstanding knowledge and the caring attitude and being kind and giving and, you know, having super connections. That's where all that stuff came from.
Yeah.
And so I just put it out there as a comment once, and I didn't expect you to do anything with it except perhaps acknowledge it. But then you took it, and then you've been putting it on at practically every single post you've done since then. So it's become kind of the rallying cry.
It has.
For the stuff. And all I did was put it together based on what I thought you wanted the Rockstar list to be about. And
I think you really nicely articulated what my kind of goal and vision was for the list. And I think you know a little bit of the backstory, but I created it because once upon a time it was like I just wanted to be better at LinkedIn, and I wanted to try to figure out how to take myself up to the next level. And one way throughout my career I've known how to do that is follow people who are a few steps ahead of me, and kind of look and learn from them, and, you know, pay respect to them too, and not just take their techniques for my own, but like thank them and learn from them. And then also it's a little bit about giving back too. It's not just about going forward, but it's about how do you pay that back at the same time. So I started following people that I kind of, in my mind, I'm calling the Meller Marketing LinkedIn rock stars. And it's not a list that's like the LinkedIn influencers or anything created by LinkedIn. It's just, you know, my own list to start tracking people who I thought were really doing a great job on LinkedIn, who had, you know, impressive numbers of followers, and then who were growing on a regular basis. And I started ranking people by percentage growth, and it became kind of a friendly competition. Every now and again, I'll have somebody who says, hey, I'm on your list. I think what you're doing is amazing, but it's creating the wrong sense of competition for me, and I don't want to focus on those things. So can you take me off? And I'm like, totally fine, but they respect what I'm doing and whatnot with the list. Yeah. But for the most part, it's really focused on how do we, you know, kind of focus on those people that are doing LinkedIn right so that others can learn from us. And for me, it was originally, I want to be better at LinkedIn. So how can I learn from others? And then I started posting it and broadcasting the list, and continue to do so, because what I found is that it was shining the spotlight on others. Some people who had really explosive growth were getting additional visibility, and it was taking them up to another level. And other people who were just kind of getting started, it was giving them traction, and then they really started exploding in terms of growth. And, you know, every time I post it now, I get people just, you know, the people on the list saying, thank you so much. This is so awesome that you do this. And they're now starting to share it out to their network, saying, hey, I was named one of the rock stars. And I just, like, for me, it's a little bit of work to do every time I do the list, but it's worth it to see the results. And
I always appreciate it.
And I think,
and again, the whole philosophy behind the Rockstar list is not to just, you know, be cool. And I mean, you know, I like to use little graphics that talk about, yeah, you rock, and, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But that's great. But the whole idea is to lift up everybody. You know, the phrase that usually comes to mind for me when I see a rock star list is a rising tide lifts all boats.
Absolutely.
It is about all of us. It's created a whole community of people who do, well, two communities now, because it's actually split into a LinkedIn related trainer list and a non-LinkedIn trainer list. So you've got actually two lists going now. So thank goodness you calm down and stop doing that on a weekly basis.
It got to the point where, you know, two things were happening, you know, and in the beginning, I had everybody on one list, and it was, you know, I had criteria. You had to have at least, I think, 5, and then I changed it to 6,000 followers to be in the list. And then over time, I kind of created a cap at the top, no more than 100,000 followers. And then I started realizing it was really an unfair playing field for the LinkedIn trainers and coaches to compare them against the non-coaches, because they were really talking about different things. So I split the two lists out, and I was doing, I think I was doing one a week. I don't remember, but it got to the point where it was like the weekly list cadence and frequency was getting too high. I was getting kind of, I don't know about you, but I was like, the notifications on the Saturday and Sunday afterwards were getting to the point where I don't want to say not enjoying my weekend, but you kind of felt like you were chained to your phone. And I didn't want it to be a negative. I wanted it to be a positive. And then I also started noticing that there were some people that, I don't want to say they were gaming the system, but I could tell that they just wanted to get in the top 10 that one time, and then that would propel them to keep going. And I didn't want it to become a competition for the wrong reasons. I wanted it to be focused on the positive aspects. So both for my own sanity, for everybody who is on the list, and I didn't want to create too much fatigue, I started going to a monthly frequency. But I really, really love what you did with this acronym, Jeff, because this helps me sometimes when I'm trying to think about, do I add this person to the list or not? And I don't accept self-nominations anymore. So if you are watching this and you're like, hey, I want to be a LinkedIn influencer, how do I get on this list? You can't just message me and say, add me to the list, because that's a little bit too self-serving. I want it to be, somebody has to nominate you. And oftentimes I'll message people back and I'll say, thanks so much for asking. If you read the FAQs I actually have in there, I don't accept self-nominations. If you can find somebody in your network to nominate you, I'd be happy to take a look at your profile. And it's kind of funny. So most of the time people say, okay, thanks anyway, and they walk away. And I'm like, it's pretty easy to find somebody to nominate you if you're doing a pretty good job on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it does self-select those people out that don't think about, how do I leverage my network? I'm always paying it forward, so they'll be happy to pay it back. So that takes part of the group out. And then the other part is, after I get a nomination, I will look at their profile, and I kind of look at your acronym, and I kind of look at, is their activity demonstrating to me that they have a real desire to help, that they have outstanding knowledge, that they have a caring attitude, that they are kind and giving, that they are super in terms of being a connection, that they trust, they have established trust within their network, they're actively engaging, their relationship building. And if all of those things aren't met, or if I'm not seeing those, I will kind of just watch their activity for a while, and I may not add them to the list. If I feel like, yeah, I'm seeing all of these things on their timeline in their activity feed, then I'll send them a note and say, you've been nominated. Would it be okay if I added you to the list? So I just want to thank you, because it's really, I think, kind of created a nice framework for what the list is all about. And going back to, your use of acronyms, I always love, Jeff, when you're posting and replying on people's feeds, and you're always very clever with both your memes and the acronyms, and you just make it a lot of fun on LinkedIn. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it should be fun, and to some degree, the GIFs and the Bitmojis and those kind of things have become a part of my brand as well.
They really have. And even like, I don't know if you guys saw earlier, there's a T-shirt that you have, like the superpower T-shirt.
Oh yes.
That's like, I think that's like one of the memes that I remember most frequently for you as well. Yeah. So and I think
my brand, it says, I'm a teacher. What's your superpower?
That's what it is. Yeah, that's right. And I think one of the things I know about you and your personal and professional brand as well, Jeff, is you're just a nice person, and you really focus on nice people. And I think I would probably say that's part of the reason for your success, and for many people who are doing well on LinkedIn, for their success as well. Could you kind of talk about that? Why is it important to be a nice person on LinkedIn?
Well, we know that there are trolls out there, but you attract more bees with honey than you do, than anything else. And it's really just a matter of, I think, again, the Rockstar list is one of those places where a bunch of those kind of people met, even though they didn't meet physically, they met at the same place. Yeah. So having a positive attitude is one that actually is the most helpful that you can be. It ought to be fun. If this turned out to be work for me, which by the way is why I only do 60 seminars a year. If I did more than 60 seminars a year, it'd feel like work, and I don't want to work anymore. I'd much rather have fun, and if I can have fun with other people, that's where it really. It was funny. I did a little bit this morning with a lady in the United Kingdom that was a takeoff and a pun about an owl. Okay. Because she said that she was laughing at my joke, and I said, I must have had you howling. Oh, sorry. That's really bad. But anyway.
Are you by background? I mean, were you a writer, or were you ever in the creative? Because I'm like, you just come up with these things so quickly too. You're very witty, and I think you have a way with words.
I guess I've always liked to write, but I'm a left brainer. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not even normally anywhere near graphics of any sort. I'm a text kind of guy. Yeah. Because I've always been in the project management field and those kind of things, and that's kind of logical, et cetera. But what I forced myself to do is get out of that comfort zone on LinkedIn and force myself to think in graphical terms. Because if I'm going to say something, then the next thing as a part of that process of my commenting is to find a graphic that goes along with the comment.
Yeah. And I think that's, it's one of the things that I think it kind of keeps you in the feed for longer too, because you do keep up with the engagement and not just little text or text messages and not just likes and reactions, but the memes and the GIFs and the humor. I'm like, it's entertaining sometimes. Yeah.
Well, and it helps. And I'm not necessarily doing it because I want to be more noticed. I'm doing it because it is more fun.
Absolutely.
And therefore, therefore others can have fun with it as well. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've started with people I don't know because they say something about, that oh, nice meme or something along those lines.
Right. It's just it's
a good job as well. Well, you do a good job as well. I don't do this nearly as much as you do. I like what you do as well. When you're doing a comment, you usually a lot of times will end a comment with a question.
Yeah, if it's appropriate.
That basically means I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and I think it's
nice
engagement there, and key to keeping the conversations going. And I mean, all the work that we do for to help people with LinkedIn, it's not about figuring out how to game the system or trick things. It's really like thinking about human behavior and what do we as human beings like. We like conversation. I mean, there's there's an author, and his name fails me. Maybe you'll help me remember, but he says when you use a person's name, that's like the sweetest sound. So when I comment back to people, I like to say, thank you for your comment, Jeff, because it doesn't look like it's an automated bot replying back. It actually looks like me as a human being replying back. And I respond back to all of my comments. I don't have anybody managing my LinkedIn account for me. I know there's probably other people out there that do have a team of people, but I'm responding to everything. It's myself and it's me. And when I read a comment, I like to let people know I've actually read what they've written. And if there's an opportunity to continue that conversation, to add a question, I will add that in. And I'm glad you've noticed that. But it's not, again, it's not about kind of keeping the post going by adding little elements of trickery in there. It's really about we as human beings, and how do we as human beings like to be treated, and how do we create conversations with each other. And that's one of those elements that you talked about, with how do you be effective on LinkedIn is the engagement and participation element. So I think you really kind of honed in on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we're just about at time here. I'm going to try to keep these interviews to about 30 minutes, but I want to just take a quick poke at our comments here and see if anyone else has joined us. If you guys do have any questions before we wrap up in the next 5 minutes or so, do let me know now, and I'll just take a quick scroll through here. And Jeff, we're up to about 75 people, so we're getting nice participation in the session here.
You are a rock star.
Well, I think it's the Jeff Young. I think I name dropped out there.
Yeah, sure. No, I've told you that one before. I mean, one of the graphics I used was you're the rock star and I'm just a groupie.
I think we're all groupies of each other. I think we all would have fan club T-shirts and mugs for each other. So let's see who else on here. Jennifer says, thank you for the session. Thank you, Jennifer, for joining us this morning. Teresa says, great interview. Thank you for that feedback. Raouf moved from Egypt to California. So we're international, but back here in the States, it looks like. Gracie has used the hashtag LinkedIn Guru. So is that a hashtag that you have on your profile, Jeff? LinkedIn
Not mine. Guru? That's why I ended up using the LinkedIn Guru.
The LinkedIn Guru. Yeah. Okay.
Because the hashtag LinkedIn Guru is actually used by somebody else.
Oh, okay. All right.
And some people use it for me as well, which makes me show up under that one as well. But
okay.
That's why I mentioned it has to be the LinkedIn.
The LinkedIn Guru. Okay, so for those of you who are on right now, if you could drop a comment below and do hashtag the LinkedIn Guru so that we're getting some correct hashtagging here. And Gracie says, the only competition is within myself to be better. I think that's really great. You always want to kind of strive to improve yourself. Let's see what else here. Dale Carnegie. Was it Dale Carnegie who said the name is the sweetest thing in the English language, to hear your own name? Yeah, I think that sounds right. Thank you, Maroon.
Like him or Zig Ziglar or somebody. One of those.
It was. I think it might have been though. It was Dale Carnegie or something. Oh, he says Dale Carnegie is the author. He or she is sharing that. So thank you for that feedback. So I think we're going to wrap here, Jeff, and I'm just going to pop your LinkedIn URL up on the screen here. So right here below, I would encourage everyone watching this broadcast, whether you're watching it live right now on Facebook, on LinkedIn, whether you're watching it in a playback, maybe on YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or some other place. Wherever you're watching it, please give Jeff Young a follow on LinkedIn. Jeff, do you accept invitations from anyone, or what's your personal stance on that?
Well, yeah, my personal preference is follow first.
Okay.
There's another gentleman from the UK that kind of talks about it that way. I would rather someone follow me and then engage with my content, and then we can connect later on, which is exactly how it worked with you. You and I actually ended up getting connected, but that was because of one of the comments that you made on one of my things. So
yeah, it's funny how, you become a familiar type of person by, I think, what your exact technique. And this is a great technique for those of you who are watching today or who are looking to how do you expand your network and increase the likelihood that someone's going to accept your invitation when you send it to them. Become familiar, become a supporter. So by following Jeff first, or by following me, following anybody that you're looking to connect with, and then start engaging on their posts. And what I mean by engaging, give it a like, add a comment, start to become a familiar name. And then once you send that person an invitation, they're going to say, oh, that Jeff Young, he's the guy who's always sending me comments on my posts, and he's always, liking things, and he's really participating. Well, I'm likely to accept his invitation because he's a supporter of me. So I think that's a really great reminder. So I think that's it, Jeff. We are going to kind of wrap this up, and just checking on my phone. I keep looking down, not because I'm distracted, but because I'm checking comments on my phone.
Oh, I understand.
Work around for StreamYard. I'm sharing that both with you, but also for our audience. So there's some limitations when we're doing the lives, and one is that the comments. If you submit a comment through Facebook Live using StreamYard, you can see the comments on screen, but through LinkedIn, you kind of have to look at your phone first. So those of you who are doing the LinkedIn Live, that's my little workaround. Get it up on your phone. It's about a 30-second or so delay. So I like to kind of, you can see how I'm pulling and stretching this conversation out to make sure there's nothing else coming in on here. But Jeff, thank you so much. It's just been truly a delight to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. It's always pleasant to chat with you. I've actually been lucky enough to actually chat with you face to face once, and I hope that happens again sometime soon. So thank you so much for having me, and enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate it. Namaste.
Thank you, Jeff. You too as well. Thank you so much, Jeff, and have a great day, everyone. We're going to end the broadcast now, and this will be available for playback. So if you're watching this in playback later, still do leave a comment below. I'm going to go ahead and add in a couple of links to some of the things we talked about during the show, so you can view those in the comments as well. Take care, everybody. Have a great day, and thank you again, Jeff. Take care.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.